companies operating at number 1 and number 2 World Trade Center at the 5th alarm. Do not use the elevators. All off-duty firefighters and all off-duty officers will hereby ordered for recall immediately. All companies operating at number 1 and number 2 World Trade Center at the 5th alarm. Do not use the elevators.
I worked for the New York City Fire Department as dispatcher for just over 20 years before retiring. I was with the fire department 8 to 9 years before everything happened. The morning of, it was pretty quiet, normal routine. Then within a couple of hours, holy hell broke loose. When we got the report of a plane going into one of the towers at the Trade Center, everybody just hopped on their positions and started dispatching companies to the scene for a second alarm right off the initial bat. And then slowly everything progressed to where we wound up sending multiple units down there at the same time. We were responsible for getting as much help down to the trade centers as possible. I've had friends call up dispatch office and say, "John, send us down there." I told them, "Well, go ahead and we'll work you into the response card." When I think of that day, I just get really emotional for sending all these guys down there. I know it was our job, we had to do it. Like I said, we couldn't be prepared for exactly what was going to happen. And then when everything started to happen, you were just going through your motions of doing your job, and you really didn't have time to think what was going on. You just had to, to act and do what you're supposed to do. Maintaining control over the radio, dispatching companies from all the 5 boroughs down to the Trade Center, giving them directions when the towers came down, setting up command posts, helping people who were trapped in some fire trucks, firefighters that were transmitting maydays, trying to make coordinations and stuff. You really didn't think about that. Family members calling up dispatch looking for their child. I still can hear the kids' voices calling up, crying on the phone, looking for their father. You keep them and you're talking to them on the phone. They want to know, do you know where my father is? Is he alive? Can you tell him to come home? And somebody, firemen have passed because they didn't come out of the building. The wives would call up crying. A couple of them I knew. And they'd ask me to tell them something. You already know the answer, but you can't tell them. And you got to sit there and just take it all in, and carry it on your shoulders. My best friends not coming home, that I sent them down there. Feel like I, sent them to the death. It was my responsibility to do my job and the best I could, and just to maintain what we needed to do. At the same time, I really didn't think about it until days later. When I got relieved, probably like around 7 p.m. I think, or 8 p.m., I couldn't tell you. We had a few of us had to stay there to help out, and you just find a spot on the floor and try to go get some sleep. But you really weren't sleeping, because everything starts to go through your mind. And you start to wonder, what happened if I did this a different way, or we did this a different way, and we're always thinking about that. Probably like about midnight, I was back up on the platform and helping out. Started on 9/11, I stayed 4 days straight in dispatch. Then in the morning when I got off, I went down to ground zero to help out. Stayed there for, I couldn't even tell you how long. Went back up, got cleaned up, and went back down again. So between my days off and having to report for duty, I just had to go down there and help out. We'd catch a couple hours here and there, but it's still, every day, couple of days after, we're still dealing with the aftermath setting up relief companies. The day of, we had a total recall of every firefighter who worked for FDNY. They had to report to the stations. And besides that, we had to take care of the rest of Manhattan for fires and emergencies. And all the other 4 boroughs had to also deal with the same situation. Everybody was responding in to help out. The weeks after everything started, when they started identifying the firefighters who were killed. They have what they call 5555, the 4 5s. And you have to announce their passing over the radio. And in Manhattan, we did the Manhattan and we did citywide, which covered all 5 boroughs. I would have to announce it several times a day, in the morning and in the early evening. And it seems like our shift was always the one who made those announcements. And no matter how you felt, getting, teary-eyed or feel like crying, you still had to do it the right way. It's extremely important for us never to forget the 343 firefighters that perished and all the civilians that perished from the World Trade Center when the buildings collapsed, and everyone, even up to today, who is still passing away from the cancers they got while working down there, and all the suffering that they're going through with PTSD and medical conditions. We should never forget. We should never forget everybody that went down there to do their jobs. It's extremely important to keep this day alive, to show our respect for what they did. The heroes are the guys that went inside the Trade Center, and a lot of them probably knew that they weren't coming out. That's a true hero, going up, sacrificing yourself to save as many people as possible under the extreme conditions. The firefighters that went in, medical, police department, everybody who went into those towers to save lives and didn't come home. They should never be forgotten. We don't forget about the members of the police, firefighters, and everyone else who sacrificed their life to help people. We should never forget what they do. They do it on a daily basis, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they'll never stop doing it, no matter how bad the job gets. They'll still run in and they'll still go do what's required of them because they really love what they're doing. I've changed since 9/11, mentally and physically. I don't go to places that's crowded. Anytime we go out to eat, I always sit facing the door. Certain odors or certain smells will make me go crazy. Like, you really get me upset. I keep my distance. Pretty quiet. I don't talk much about what went on. I just basically go through the motions. I feel like a large part of me died that day.
If you could say anything to any of your friends who passed, what would you say to them?
Apologize for sending them down there. And I tell them that they're never forgotten. Then I'll be damned if I'll let them be forgotten. A lot of us wish we could change places with them, but they never should be forgotten. It's extremely important from all the locations, the Pentagon, Flight 93, everybody be remembered for the sacrifices they did for this country. And I won't let it, as long as I can help, I won't let it die.